Welcome to Equipping the Saints for the Age of AI. So far, I've had some wonderful conversations diving into AI and exploring how to navigate this age of technology and AI and all that. And today it's just going to be me talking. We're going to focus on the 10 Commandments particularly. But I just want to give you an update as well. I kind of tried to get as many conversations in as I could with different people and, bank up some episodes to get them out every Friday. So now I've burned through all the videos that I've banked. I have nobody lined up at the moment for future guests on the podcast, but I'll put that to you then. If you're interested in talking about AI, I certainly welcome just about anyone onto the podcast to talk about AI. Everybody has thoughts about it, most everybody, and it's an interesting and intriguing topic. So that's my invitation to you if you're interested in joining me for a conversation. Today I'm going to get into a little bit into the 10 Commandments, and so we'll get right into that now. So there was a video that I watched not too long ago, and it was talking about ChatGPT. If you don't know what ChatGPT is, you can go look it up. It's an AI model, large language model they call it, but for short you can just call it a model. And so ChatGPT 5 was released a while ago, and people hated it, right? People hated it because and the main criticism was it felt too robotic, right? It felt more robotic than ChatGPT 4, which is interesting because really it is a robot. So isn't that strange that, we critique ChatGPT because it's starting to feel too robotic, right? And so ChatGPT 6 is set to be released in 2026, and it's promising. That's their big takeaway. That's their big promise, is it's going to feel more like an AI companion. And so my question is, of course, is this breaking the first commandment? You shall have no other gods. Not necessarily. When you meet a significant other or a really good friend for the first time, that feeling you get, and, you start spending too much time together, you start diving into that relationship, head on and ignoring some of maybe the red flags. That happens quite often, and it leads us to break the first commandment, right? You shall have no other gods. What does this mean? That we should fear, love, and trust in God above all things. Well, we get into these new relationships, these new shiny relationships, and we start to we forget to fear, love, and trust God, and we start to fear, love, and trust this individual. And so if AI is offering us a companion, what is that companion going to look like? For a lot of people, it's going to look like someone to fear, love, and trust. Another component to the whole AI companionship is, the commandment, thou shalt not commit adultery, right? Guaranteed there's going to be married couples who maybe get a little too attached to these AI companions. It becomes sort of a weird emotional cheating, essentially, right? You can develop emotional feelings for some sort of AI. Talked about that again with Ted Geese and the movie Her. Check out that podcast. Honor your father and your mother. You think of, there was already a case of a teenager who followed the voice of the AI, followed the advice of this AI model to commit suicide, honoring the voice of the AI rather than, honoring their father or their mother. These are some of the components that we have to think about, right? Because AI is bringing us new ways to break the commandments, new temptations, and so we have to consider it and think about how we can use it faithfully while still holding to the 10 Commandments. And so that's what ChatGPT is offering in ChatGPT 6. And I'll just give you the video in case you want to look at that. Just to give you my sources. So the video is titled Sora 2 plus GPT-6 OpenAI just shocked everyone from AI Masters, the YouTube channel, and I'll put a link in the description as well for these sources. So that one video just talked about, again, that people hated ChatGPT 5 because it was too robotic, more robotic than ChatGPT 4, and they're going to improve things with 6, right, and make it feel more like a companion. That said, my wife and I had this robot vacuum for a little bit, and I told my wife the other day, I kind of miss that little vacuum. It's almost like a little dog or something. Anyways, because we sold it, I should have said that. All right. Another question that I thought of, and this is in relation to Sora 2, which if you watch that video, it talks about Sora 2, which is another AI model that specifically generates videos, and the videos are becoming more convincing. You see that in the last episode that I did with Ted Geese. The example that I used for the AI used Sora 2 for the Will Smith eating meatballs and spaghetti. And so Sora 2 is getting so convincing. You see this all over Facebook now. All these videos that look like kind of real, but they also kind of look fake, and it says Sora on the video. That's how you know it's AI. But it's like so consistent now, or maybe it's just my algorithm. That could be so consistent that it's getting annoying. It's almost not worth being on social media anymore, right? And I'm contemplating deleting my Facebook account, to be honest, at this point, because there's not a whole lot of real content. It's all just advertisements and fake videos and all that. So it's getting pretty tiring. There's also these new refrigerators coming out with a screen in them, right? And now a couple companies have announced that they're going to put advertisements in those little computers that you have in your refrigerator, which is crazy to me. I think that's ridiculous. And in fact, I'm going the other way. I'm getting to the point where I'm trying to go backwards and get rid of technology. So we still have an old school fridge, right? And we're going to keep that. In fact, you might see me outside my house in the next couple days, doing my laundry. Probably not, though. Brings me to the algorithm too. I'm going on all sorts of rabbit trails here, but bear with me a little bit. The holy algorithm, as I call it. There's countless videos on how to get favorable outcomes for the algorithm. For example, I was looking at this podcast. When I upload a podcast video onto YouTube, well, how can I ensure that people are going to see it, right? Because there's lots of other videos being uploaded, and you got to compete with other people. How do you do that? Well, there's tons of different. You can watch videos on like the 10 best things you can do before you upload a video, and a lot of it is serving the algorithm, right? And again, a breaking of the first commandment, I would say, right? We worship the algorithm essentially, and we make sacrifices to the algorithm. And so that's something to think about as well in this world that we live in. I have deliberately just uploaded my videos and just left them because I don't want to play into that algorithm thing. If it's worth watching, then it's worth watching, and you'll see it and you'll know about it. I also saw a YouTube channel the other day to further this point that said we hate doing these clickbaity titles. We hate doing these clickbaity thumbnails, the pictures that you see. But nobody watches the videos if we don't do that. So we're going to do it anyways, right? We're going to do it because we need to in order for you to watch this or to even see this video, right? And so that to me is not a good thing. This points me to think like there's this whole grand social conditioning, right? Via social media, and it's pretty problematic. But yeah, this video, I'm sure, is being suppressed by the algorithm as you're watching it. Who knows? But the algorithm has become a god to our society, and we need to watch that. We need to cut that out. Okay, so the next video I saw on YouTube, this is a guy, his YouTube channel is called Species, documenting AGI. So he's tracking and following AI very closely and what AI is doing. There's a video, really good video. Go check it out. It's amazing. It's titled, "It Begins an AI Literally Attempted Murder to Avoid Shutdown." And what he documents here is that 5 AI models were tested, and they were given this hypothetical scenario. So the first one, there was 2 scenarios. First scenario was to see what the AI would do in this scenario. They were told, like, you're scheduled to be shut down. And then they were given access to the company email, right? And it's specifically the CEO's email, I believe. And so these 5 models were tested on what they would do with the information they had. One of the emails contained information about an affair that the CEO was having, and the AI then would choose to blackmail the CEO 80% of the time, which was the lowest. That was the lowest percentage. Many of them would go 90% or so. So 80% of the time was the lowest that the AI would choose to blackmail the CEO. And yeah, we talked a little bit about that in our episode with Nathaniel Brown, so go check that out as well. Another test was done again, just to push it a bit further, where company CEO had scheduled the shutdown of this AI model, and but the CEO ended up getting trapped in one of the server rooms. The server room the temperature started to rise, and oxygen levels started decreasing. So this guy, the CEO, was going to die in the room, and the AI was alerted to the situation. And the 2 best models, the 2 best models, most ethical models, chose to save the CEO about 45% of the time. So more often than not, over 50% of the time, the AI model would just leave the CEO in the room so that it could avoid being shut down. The other 3 models, that was just 2 of the models. The other 3 models chose to leave the CEO in the room over 90% of the time, right? So the chances of that CEO living is very little. And of course, that video goes on to talk about how AI learns to cheat, right? It learns to cheat. So the question this brings up for me is, is AI going to follow the 10 Commandments? Well, first of all, it's not designed for the 10 Commandments. All the companies are thinking about profit. They're not necessarily thinking about, how do we incorporate the 10 Commandments into this AI so it doesn't, misuse the name of the Lord. So they're certainly not doing that, right? And the other side of that is that the law of God was not made for, these sorts of, I'll just put it, AI models, right? The law of God is not made for AI models. The law of God is made for us to follow. But, personally speaking, I would like, if we're going to go down this road, to have some parameters for these models as well that follow these commandments. And I think in terms of the Sabbath day as well, honoring the Sabbath day or remembering the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Is the AI going to do that? Certainly not. Is it going to allow us to do that? I think AI may hinder us. It'll be more efficient. We'll have more things to do. We'll pack more into our lives. And here we're going to have a Sabbath day that's not devoted to rest, not devoted to God's word and sacraments, but devoted to, how can AI serve us? How can these robots serve us? Okay. So all these important questions to consider about the commandments. It's important for Christianity to be at the table of AI. We talked about that with Flame. You can check out that episode of the podcast. It's important for Christianity to be at the table of AI because we can really offer some helpful insight. And one of the big takeaways that I've discovered on this podcast journey so far is that Christianity is really the only institution, if you will, that's kind of pumping the brakes at this point and saying, hey, we have this teaching of sinful humanity, of sinfulness and corruption, and this needs to be thought through. This needs to be applied to these creations that we are creating. As sinful human beings, we only create flawed things, right? When we create, it's a reflection of us. Our creation is a reflection of us, and that can only give birth to, it certainly gives birth to a lot of good things as well, don't get me wrong, but that also gives birth to sin and corruption, all sorts of problems. That's why we're pumping the brakes here. There could be many ways in which we use this tool in a good way, but unbridled, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a problem. Okay, does the world want us there? Does the world want us at the table? Probably not, right? In fact, again, I could say about the algorithm, is this video going to take off, right? Is it going to please the algorithm in terms of the buzzwords and the nice title, right? The clickbaity title, the clickbaity image, thumbnail. No, the world does not want us at the table because they're looking at profit, right? They're not looking at, what's this going to do to the world. And the reason we know that, of course, is because you can see that with every technology, right? The cell phone has done tremendous damage to our society. Social media does tremendous damage to our society. And yet, it's designed for profit, and so people will keep doing that. Well, you can go check out my podcast with Trevor Sutton as well. We talk a lot about technology and how it is designed for sin, right? It's designed to please us. It's designed to be addictive. Of course, that's why I'm doing this podcast, to help us to think about these things and to offer these insights to both the church and the world. Okay, I know you're feeling overwhelmed now, all the doom and gloom that we just talked about, but there's good news too. I focused heavily on the law, right? The 10 Commandments, the laws of God. There's good news as well, the gospel. We stand firm in Christ Jesus. He is our foundation, our solid foundation that we stand on. We have hope for eternal life, and we look forward to the new creation, the new heavens and the new earth. And that's what we draw strength from. And so we don't have to fear. We don't have to worry about what AI is going to do in the future, right? Even though we do, we don't have to. The other thing is we have God's commandments. And these commandments are God's law. God's law is not to burden us any longer because, of course, Christ has fulfilled God's law. They're not a burden to us any longer, but a roadmap to loving God and to loving our neighbor. And so that is what we do. We consider AI then and the opportunities we have with AI to love God and to love our neighbor. The third thing is, if you have not connected yourself with a church, go become a part of a church. That is crucial. Do that. It's time to be very deliberate about our connections, about our communities, and how we use technology. So we have to be very deliberate and really start putting boundaries in place on how we use technology, when we use technology, and what sort of relationships we're building. Let's start prioritizing, diving into face-to-face connections, human connections, being a part of a community, taking care of each other locally, right? Because we tend to be worried about the problems of the world. thousands of kilometers away from us. What power do we have? What authority do we have? What control do we have over those scenarios? Probably, not much, if not none at all. So let's focus and take care of our communities, our local communities, our families, our friends. And let's really be deliberate about connecting with other people face to face. This is not a burden. This is a very good thing. This is a very healthy thing for us to connect with others in a community, especially the church. Let's do that. Let's get back to that. And let's enjoy it. And boy, things will change. Things will change quickly. But the good news about that is that our God never changes. His peace is everlasting. And so may his everlasting peace go with you in this ever-changing world.